So let's try and make sense of all this with a couple of experts, each side of the aisle. On the left, we have Jim Kessler. He's the Executive Vice President for Policy at Third Way and a former policy director for Senator Chuck Schumer. And on the right, Justin Sayfie, former Trump administration official, has also served as a policy advisor to two other Republican presidents. Thank you both for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, Jim, let me start with you. Do you see this as ominous signs for Kamala Harris?
I've made up a term for my mood on this, and it's panically optimistic as a Harris supporter. And I actually think that Harris is in a better place than Trump, but it is awfully close. I do believe that Donald Trump has a ceiling. You know, he's run in 2016 and 2020. We know that he has ceilings in these states. His ceiling is lower than Harris's ceiling. You know, the aggregate in these polls, she's ahead slightly. But if you look at the 538 aggregate and the silver aggregate and the Real Clear Politics aggregate, no candidate has a lead in any of these states above 1.5 points. Like, it is that close.
But I will tell you that James Carville, who was on this show maybe a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, was quite confident at how Kamala Harris was doing. This was James Carville yesterday on MSNBC.
The election's coming November 5th. And I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, obviously...
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned and very
What is Harris?
He's very concerned. Justin Sayfie, do you see this as positive signs for Trump?
Well, James Carville should be concerned. Very positive signs for Trump. The Q poll showing that he's leading in two of the three blue wall states is remarkable, especially when you keep in mind that in 2020, the New York Times did an analysis of how much Trump outperformed the polls on Election Day. He outperformed the polls in Wisconsin by 9 points. He outperformed the polls in Michigan by 5 points, and he outperformed the polls in Pennsylvania by 4 points. So if he even does half as good as he did then, or if the pollsters are half, about 50% better than they were then, he's still going to win all those three states. Well, so there are warning signs for Harris, especially amongst working class younger voters. They are going for Trump. He is leading, according to this Q poll, listen to this, by 8 points over Harris amongst voters under 35 in the state of Michigan. How is Donald Trump beating Kamala Harris amongst younger voters in Michigan? It's remarkable.
And, Jim, the fact that it is that close in Michigan and Wisconsin has to be of great concern to the Harris team.
Well, look, that's why I said I'm panically optimistic, because of, what Justin said. Donald Trump overperformed the polls in 2020, not so much 2016. Hillary was on her way down, the weeks before the election. But if you want to look at kind of overperformance, since the Dobbs decision in 2022, Democrats have been overperforming the polls almost everywhere. So I am not sure that the overperformance that we saw with Donald Trump in 2020 is going to reflect in 2024. And Dan, there's another mitigating factor too. In 2020, Republicans had a fantastic get out the vote campaign, and they went door to door, and they got people to the polls. And Democrats behaved like there was a pandemic, because there was. So everything Democrats did was online and on the phone, which just annoyed people. So I think Democrats will have a very strong ground game on Election Day, probably better than Republicans. So I'm not sure that past overperformance by Trump predicts overperformance in 2024.
Justin, quick response?
Well, look, Kamala Harris should be doing a lot better in the polls than she's doing right now in these blue wall states. If she loses Wisconsin, if she loses Michigan, that doesn't bode well for how she's going to do in Pennsylvania, not to mention the Sunbelt states. If she loses Wisconsin and Michigan, I don't see her winning Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.